Hi everyone, this is Ari Kopel with Shattering the Matrix. Tonight we have Crystal Andasola, and we have a really good show today. We're going to be speaking about all the interesting things that are happening around the Ring of Fire, and just the different Earth events and CERN and all those goodies that kind of concerns us. And but before we start, Crystal, I just wanted to say, welcome to the show. So say hi to everyone.
Hi, everybody. Greetings and good day to all my beloveds. It's so awesome to be back on the air with Ari. I'm so glad to be here, and I really feel like I just need to just kind of give everybody a tiny little insight of why I've been missing in action. But Ari, my brother's was, seriously injured back in October. He was burned 37% of his body.
Yeah.
So that's we were getting ready to do another show when all of that happened. And then from there, I've been, out healing people dealing with some really serious stuff. So
yeah.
To be back, and I just want to thank our listeners for all their patience and their love and their support and being patient with us. And, of course, you writing your book.
Oh, yes, ma'am.
Getting it published, and I'm so proud of you that it is the number one.
It became a number one bestseller. Yeah, I couldn't believe it, in actually several categories. And so now it's international bestseller, and it's still hanging in there. It's still there. So
It's unbelievable. Well, I predicted that. I told you that was going to happen. And I'm just so proud of you. And what a phenomenal book. You just,
thank you.
You nailed it impeccably. You did a phenomenal job. Well done.
Thank you very much. And I wanted to extend my thanks to everyone who actually got the book and heeded the call, because the book kind of puts us in a totally different level. Crystal, as you may know, it's basically, what it's doing is basically taking off our training wheels, and making us actually face, reality and step into our power. So I really applaud, truly, all the people that actually, took the opportunity to get the book and read it and understand it. And many people have actually told me they've actually read it several times. Some people have told me they've underlined it. And it's making a difference. It really is. I could feel it. It's, it's in the collective already. So that's really important to me.
Well, it exploded in the collective. I am familiar and blessed to have many of authors in my arena, and this one just hit the collective consciousness like wildfire in a very, very good way. And it's my copy is also highlighted and stars and underlined it, and it's just phenomenal. Like, kudos to you, Ari. Job phenomenally well done. And I would really encourage everybody to get a copy of the Spiritual Warfare, the Art of Deception, which is a topic that Ari and I have been diligently addressing and working and trying to get this message out to the collective consciousness. So the book was just brilliant. It is brilliant, and I just love you and
thank you.
Appreciate all your hard work.
And I appreciate you as well, especially for carrying it in your store and recommending it to your clients. So thank you for doing that as well. So let's talk about the stuff that's happening. We are experiencing interesting things, like, for example, an exponential amount of volcanoes and earth movement, with earthquakes and just very, very weird weather extremes. I mean, I was in Colorado, I would say a couple of weeks ago, and well, you were there when did it snow when you're in?
There at the same time.
I know.
From Baltimore, and you were flying to Denver, and we were in the air at the same time, waving to each other.
We were giving each other high fives in the air. But it stormed over there with snow when I was there. It's like, are you kidding me? This is like crazy.
Yes, the weather, and I'm sure everybody has observed this, has been very, what I would call, like, bipolar. Seriously, right. Even in Colorado, it's just like rain, 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 rain.
Yeah.
The month of, our springtime has been more like a winter. Our winter was more like spring, and so... But the most important part about this, Ari, is that even the weather, patterns and the cycles changing is very telling to the collective consciousness that the change is here. Mm-hmm. The polar shifts are flipping naturally and also unnaturally, which is posing the problem. Earth is in her own natural cycle of her own ascension and her own change, and then we've got this CERN thing that's creating some serious repercussions of technology being definitely misused,
sure,
if you will. And so yes, the volcanoes, the earthquakes, the tornadoes, the typhoons, the flooding. I mean, Texas is pretty much underwater.
Yeah. Well, look what's happening in India. India, people are, it's the amount of heat. There's like 1,800 from what I heard last. I'm not sure if the numbers are accurate or not, but from what I hear, it's about 1,800. I don't know if it's injured or deaths. I'm not really sure. But yeah, it's terrible. One extreme to another. We're really not prepared. A lot of us are not, and in countries, maybe other countries where they can't really, they don't have access to air conditioning or they don't have access to electricity. I mean, people are suffering. Look what happened in Nepal. I mean, my goodness.
Oh my God, I know.
It was horrible.
And then to be hit with a secondary earthquake.
Exactly.
And it's really important for people to remember, and I'm sure I'm not going to use the right analogy of what it would be technically called, but the scenario is that they actually lowered. So if an earthquake would have been registered at 7.9, they decided to lower that. Mm-hmm. That meter reading, so to speak.
Sure.
So if it's a 7.9, it was really more like a 9.9 or a 10 on the Richter. And so, that brings us to our topic of that, per mine and your conversation that we had, I believe, on Wednesday, the importance of letting people know that these changes are happening now. And there really is nothing on the news about it. I mean, there's, a little tiny segment of 5 seconds, and then it's swept under the carpet, and they're back to their no news.
Yep.
That they do the whole segments on. And so, discernment and really, people really tapping into nature and connecting with Mother Earth, as is above, so below. And I feel like, we really need to honor that sacred union between our cosmic father and our, divine mother, that she's in some major transformation right now, and we're all going through this with her. And, you and I talked a little bit about the Ring of Fire, so...
Sure. Yeah, well, here's what I'm thinking, and I'm thinking out loud right now in the moment. It's not like I have been contemplating this for a while, and now I'm just discussing. I'm discussing it with you because it just came to me. There is perhaps a natural process of the way that Mother Earth is supposed to be changing and evolving, and the whole thing, and all the the birth pangs that go with that, right?
Right.
And then there's the unnatural one, okay? And I have a feeling that there's a lot of unnatural stuff going on, for example, with the help of CERN and HARP and other technologies like that, that are interfering with the natural process of the Earth's ascension and the Earth's, evolution. And so let's talk about CERN,
because,
it is a concern, that it's like... Intended concern. And, it's just too much of a coincidence that when they're doing these particle things, whatever it is that they're doing, that we experience some kind of an event on the planet. So, what are your ideas and your opinion about this? What do you think about this?
Well, it's extraordinarily dangerous in more ways than I even know how to humanly articulate. It is the equivalent of HARP times 10,000, worse. This is really about manipulating even the cosmos. It is totally and utterly about planetary manipulation.
Yeah.
Which then coincides with, the planetary takeover and, the stuff that I feel very confident that our listeners are savvy and high consciousness to understand. We all are aware of HARP. But CERN is, Ari, to be honest with you, I don't even know how to find human words
I know.
to articulate the diabolical, energy that is around this CERN thing. And I believe that you are correct. I believe that the earthquake in Chile was maybe a little testing run. I mean, these powers that think they be like to, try out their new technology in a very, very reckless way. You have, I think, a really good articulation of explaining what CERN is for the listeners, that meaning, about the matter and the zero.
Well, you're talking about the antimatter that they're creating in there?
Yes.
Yeah. It from what I understand, I'm not, into that, into it nitty gritty, what the scientific terms for this or that is, but it boils down that they're creating antimatter, supposedly, and I mean, who knows really what they're doing in there, right? And it could, from what I understand, I mean, they're trying to explore perhaps parallel universes or alternate realities or whatever they're doing without any spiritual responsibility of any sort. Or, it is that they have a responsibility, but they have a responsibility for the wrong side. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Yes. They're not exactly representing the positive polarity.
Our planet and our galaxies and all of that. It's more for power and control and very destructive intentions.
Yeah. And so, assuming that, of course, that we have the powers that were, we want to call it that, they are the ones that are the overlords here in this particular realm, okay? They're going all out, and if they need to rip a hole or a tear in the space-time continuum, allowing all the astral cockroaches to come through, they're going to do that, and with the pretense that it's we're looking for the God particle. Well, who the hell are you to look for the God particle? I mean, you don't even know what you're doing. You can't. The mess that you're making with the planet obviously shows that you're up to no good. So therefore, who's to say that the intentions that you're claiming are really to further the planet, to evolve the planet? It's actually to devolve the planet and to put us into an abyss. So the problem, though, is Crystal, is that those that know what's happening because of our intuition, because we kind of know, that it's not in the best interest of those that serve the light, we're not. What can we do about it at this point other than pray and meditate and visualize, and all this stuff? I mean, what we need is an army of people to go in there and knock these guys off their feet, and just do something.
Well, I agree, and I'm so glad that you said that, Ari, because, the energy transmissions that I receive from the spiritual councils are exactly of that. I mean, we the people do need to, as we've talked so much on this platform, whether it be the chemtrails or whether it be the GMOs of food. It's like we the people really do need to stand in our power, and whether it's government officials, whether it's creating a revolution, we're not going to tolerate this. We all have the right to be on this planet and enjoy nature, and not only that, but to protect nature. This is serious stuff, and I think the discernment of, spirit is the lack of responsibility of the collective consciousness. People, it's whether it's earthquakes or if it's in Chile or Nepal or Japan or the tsunami. We sit over here in this country and we're like, oh, I still need to go get my freaking designer bag.
Right.
Or I need to go and, I'm supposed to go to the mall today, or I got to go get my mani-pedi today. I see this grotesquely, as the observer, as somebody that's very disciplined in my being the observer of, and it's very discerning that if it doesn't happen right here in America, right under our bases, then people just go about their daily business like no big deal. And the thing that I think is very important is that we all need to understand that we're all in this together. If there is an earthquake, across the planet, it's going to affect us. We're living in one body of energy. And so, there is a lot of discernment around the consciousness, if you will, of the people that are the occupants here, because believe me, it's going to affect all of us, and not only all of us, but the future generations as well. Now, with that being said, something that's always been told to me, Ari, since I was like 7 years old, is you hear the old-fashioned saying, it's not nice to fool Mother Nature.
Right.
And so, I do, and I'm holding on to that had a hope and that shield of faith, that the will of God and divine intervention, the Creator that created this beautiful universe in the first place, will step in and do some divine intervention. Now, with that being said, what has been given to me, Miss Ari, is that divine intervention will more than likely come from our star people, who have been very, very, very diligent, if you will, and making their presence known all over the planet. So lots of sightings, lots of UFOs. That's when I refer to their star people or our galactic brothers and sisters. I am referring to our star nations that are really our ancestors and our star family. Not the lower vibrational, creepy crawler ones, but our family. And I have been assured that they will come in for an emergency Earth evacuation. This has been talked about quite a bit by the galactic and the intergalactic federations. It's been kind of challenging, if you will, because of the whole free will issue / dilemma that happens on this dimension. Some people have the free will to know, and there's other people that have the free will to not know, because they're not ready for that kind of vibrational experience. So, what do you have to say about
about the whole enchilada? Well, I'm in agreement with you that more than likely, if this continues the way that it's looks like it's going, that it's going to be at a point that's a little bit too late to do anything. It's like a runaway train. Okay, so the fact is that if it gets to that point in time, we're probably going to need intervention at that point. I think that probably the reason, and it's not probably, it is the reason, that they have not stepped in at this point is because we really are the ones that are supposed to be stepping in. But because we've been so severely compromised, Crystal, by many factions of the dark forces, through all kinds of different spiritual disinformation, then we really haven't taken the responsibility. Okay, we have been bad custodians, shall we say?
Absolutely.
And so we have been a little bit too self-indulgent, a little bit too distracted, a little bit too maybe self-absorbed,
Lazy.
Yeah, just not really paying attention. And a lot of us have been severely compromised via our health through all the stuff that we already know, the chemtrails, the GMOs, the fluoride, the whatever, the viruses and the vaccines, and you name it. I mean, the list could go on and on and on and on. And therefore, we've been severely compromised. Therefore, when we are in poor health, we cannot connect to that divine self that we have inside, that we are, we have the right and the capacity to connect directly to our Creator, to give us that power and authority that we need to be able to correct things that have gone awry on our watch. But because we are so severely compromised via our health, and via our emotions, and via all the other stuff, our poor choices, the fact that we're constantly perhaps in drama, all these things are lowering our vibration to the point that we can't connect. And so when somebody comes and tells us a lie, like don't look at these things, okay, because they're not good. If you look at them, you bring them on. And so we believe it because we feel spiritually unworthy to connect directly to God. So we'll listen to the next guy who's giving us supposedly the right information, when all along it's disinformation so that we don't take action. And therefore, we are at that point, possibly very close to the point of no return, so that at that point, yes, we did have free will. Let's see what you guys can do with this mess. Let's see what you guys can do to correct this. It's after all, you did come for that reason. One of the reasons is to infuse the light into this planet, and it hasn't happened. So therefore, yes, when it gets to that point of no return, they might have to step in, and they may have to do an evacuation, unfortunately, but that's what it looks like. Now, I have seen a lot of these crafts, and I'm talking about the higher vibrational ones, as well as a lot of people have seen the lower vibrational ones. And we see a lot of them now, very, very low to the ground. I know you ran into one the other day, so I'd love for you to tell the audience your experience with this craft.
Oh, this was unbelievable experience, Ari. It's still on a human conscious level has kind of rocked my central nervous system. On my higher aspect, it's like, wow. But yes, I will share the story. I think it was Monday night, because I talked to you on Wednesday. Crazy. My husband and I had gone to bed. We were laying in bed, and I just opened my bedroom window, and my driveway is about 20 feet away from my bedroom. And we're in bed, and I've been doing these remote transmissions and healings on my Baltimore client, so I'm like getting all ready for that energetically, and all of a sudden I hear the horn honk on my car. Not once, but twice.
Wow.
And simultaneously, my husband and I both sat up, we looked at each other, and there was just this moment of silence, and I said, Eric, I'm pretty sure that was the horn on my car. And he says, I'm thinking the same thing. Well, he was pinned down, as I told you. He had 3 Boston Terriers, and they're all, in bed, pinning him down. And so it was easier for me to kind of fly out of bed. And so I called Savannah. Savannah lives with us, and I was like, Savannah, did you hear the horn honk? Well, she happened to be in her bedroom, so she didn't hear that. We run out the house. She checks my car to see if my keys are in it. My keys aren't in it. I start panning the street, like, okay, was this a neighbor? Was this, there's nothing except for stillness. Like, I could read the molecular structure in the atmosphere. It was just very still. And about that time, I look straight ahead.
Oh, wow.
And there is a freaking UFO. I mean, like, low, like Ari, like in my face.
Wow.
Savannah is standing there. My husband is looking out the bedroom window, where I'm sure they're looking at our tonsils. And I'm like, oh my God! Like, it was the lowest.
Wow.
Well, I had one other experience back in 2007 that was a little bit where I saw the pyramid craft, but this one was round. It was more sphere shaped. It was just this beautiful white light. Well, here's the ironic part. I immediately start asking this craft for help in healing my client. It wasn't like, that was like the first thing that came for me. Odd, why, I don't know, but I was like, oh gee, while you're there, could you assist me in this,
right,
transmuting this cancer, and it's really rare, and I go into this conversation with this starship about the work that I was trying to do before they honked the horn on my car and brought me to their attention. And Ari, I kid you not, whenever I would talk to the ship, these lines, these like light lines would come out of the ship, and each one was a different color. And the colors were red, green, blue, and white.
Yep. And
so Savannah, bless her heart, was just like, oh my God, are we leaving tonight? Like, that's how low the UFO was. Like, are they coming to pick us up, like, now? And I'm kind of in a state of shock myself, because I was flabbergasted at how low this ship was. I mean, it was unequivocally, no doubt, definitely a UFO, definitely there, like right across the street, practically hovering over the neighbor's house across the street.
Wow.
And whenever I would talk to it, it would respond to me with their lights. And so the ironic part was the very next day, when I call my client, and I call the wife to get an update on her husband's condition, she's like, oh my God, Crystal, you're not even going to believe. Like, he's in a wheelchair. They rolled him outside to be in the sun.
Wow.
He's walking. His white blood cell counts it was like miracles were happening. And so that just happened literally 5 days ago, like in your face. And the other part that was interesting about that experience, Ari, is I had been given, while I was in Baltimore, during the time that all the riots and all that was going down, I was right in the middle. I was literally blocks away from all that was going down.
Yeah, I couldn't believe that you arrived exactly when that started happening.
Exactly when it happened. As a matter of fact, when I was in the Chicago airport, I told the Spirit Council, I'm like, I can't go in and do what I need to do with all of this nonsense. Like, I command peace in the region right now. And all of a sudden, there was really peace. I remember a particular news reporter going, this is the most bizarre, it went from fires and riots to, it's almost like they're having unity festivals in the street.
Yeah.
Was quote verbatim. And so, got a big chuckle out of that. But during that time, my spirit council had been forewarning me that the time was nearing when they wanted me to announce disclosure / reunion. And I'm just going to speak my truth. I was like, really? Like, you look over your shoulder, like, are you talking to me, Spirit? And they're like, yes, we're talking to you. And of course, the instructions were given that we would announce this via your radio show.
Oh, okay.
And so many people have been under the assumption, if you will, and particularly when President Obama was elected into office, that it would be President Obama was supposed to come out and give the disclosure that yes, our government has been in touch with, galactic beings, UFOs, so on and so forth, and has been for millennia. But that never happened. And so the command from the Spirit Council is that the disclosure is happening right now, and it's happening via your television. And then they gave me the spelling of TELL-A-BISION. So, which I already knew what they were talking about, because the television has been inundating shows about, you've got the ancient aliens, you've got America Unearthed, you've got Hangar 1, which is where MUFON has opened their files to the general public. You have NASA, who has also opened their files. You've got Through the Wormhole show. I mean, it's on History, Discovery, History 2 channel, the Nat Geo channel, American, what is it, like the Travel channel. I mean, it's like everywhere.
Yeah.
And so the reason that this is happening is because the disclosure, there are people that aren't ready for this vibrational experience. There are people that may have had the same experience that I had Monday night and literally dropped and died from a heart attack. Like, I'm not even kidding you. Meaning there is a preparation that has to happen, Ari, on the conscious level. I remember probably 15 years ago, Sananda giving me information that I needed to spend at least 15 minutes a day envisioning myself, embracing and having an encounter, with our star people. It's like exercising the consciousness. So, those of us that are spiritually advanced and know that our star family is there, you can know it on your super consciousness level, but believe me, when you actually see it with your third dimensional eyes, it can definitely rock your central nervous system to the essence of the core of your being. So, like anything else, we've got to practice and exercise, that conscious awareness around this. Plus, I was also given a spiritual download about, this was back in, I think, 2010, if I'm not mistaken, that's how the disclosure was going to happen. Now, it might have been even earlier. It might have been 2008. Meaning in the future, that's how they were going to prepare the collective consciousness for, the knowing that there are other life out there besides us. And so, the message here, and I'm just the messenger, is that the disclosure that everybody's been waiting for, pertaining to, the council calls it the reunion, is happening, and it's happening now. And so for those people that really want to access that, it would behoove you to change out some of your television shows for some of these ones that are being exposed on your television, because that's how they have chosen to prepare us, if you will, meaning it's not going to come from the president. That would create complete mayhem, if you will, people that aren't ready for this vibration. So in that way, you have the sense to watch it, or you have the free will to not watch it if you're not ready for that kind of experience. But nonetheless, it doesn't change the fact that they're there. They're here. They're not even there. They're here.
Not sure.
I went outside and kept my eye to the sky last night, and there were 4 ships in the sky. Not near as low. I mean, I seriously thought this one was going to land in the street.
Oh dear.
It was totally, utterly fascinating in every way. And so, we all know by now, yes, there's lower vibrational ones, and then there are our galactic brothers and sisters known as our star family. So anytime I'm speaking about this, I'm speaking about our star family.
Right. Right. And so what you're saying is that the disclosure is, it's almost like the government has taken away the responsibility for them having to disclose, and what they're doing instead is putting all this information in the media, well, not the media like the news media so much, more like Hollywood, like the TV shows that we watch, for example, like maybe History Channel, the Discovery Channel, some movies. Obviously, there's a lot of movies with these aliens. Everything is aliens. It's a fascination now with aliens, but they're desensitizing us in the sense where, here's where the thing is, that the type of aliens that they're exposing us to are not necessarily the high vibrational ones. They're more notice that they're more like reptilian looking. They're more grays, they're the alien, like for example the movie Alien and Prometheus. It's a very strange looking, type of alien. So I'm wondering if they're slowly introducing the negative ones, because I haven't seen them really even talk about the positive ones, except I'll tell you where there's an exception with that, and correct me if I'm wrong, you may not have seen the movie, but the movie's called Knowing. Have you seen them? Oh my God. Oh my God.
Stage, I know, yes.
Right? Okay.
Yes.
So that movie is exactly perhaps, what we're talking about here, where, it's not exactly maybe the same scenario, but it could be. We never know what's going to really, how this whole thing is going to go down. Right. But it's almost at the very, very end of where there's nothing we can do about it, where these high beings, they come in their light body. They actually show their light bodies at the very end. And I hate to, I don't want to talk about it too much, because I don't want to, for those people who haven't seen the movie, actually spoil it. If I've already gotten to that point already, it's too late. But that's the only movie that I know. I mean, I may be wrong. There might be others. It's the only one that I've seen that have actually shown the brothers and the Star Brothers, our Star Brothers, coming in and with intervention, and it wasn't intervention to really, again, prevent the situation from happening, because it had to happen, but the beings actually, took it upon themselves to evacuate a good portion of the population. So.
Yes.
Right?
And you are correct, and I will tell you, Ari, in some of these shows that I've been observing in MUFON's files, which is also called Hangar 1, Hangar 1 is MUFON that has opened their files to the general public. Interesting that, like, NASA has now opened their files. This is all for public access. It's all public information. They've got case numbers, file numbers. It's there. But what's interesting about what you said, and yes, I would highly recommend.
Highly.
I don't care if you saw The Knowing when it came out. Go back and watch it again.
I have seen it like 100 times. I kid you not. I kid you not.
It does a very beautiful depiction of the light and the grace and the positive ones that are our star families. But what I was going to tell you that I did notice on some of these shows, meaning on sightings, a lot of people, because of technology, have cell phones and videos and cameras are everywhere. But I have been noticing that a lot of these, what people are witnessing are like very beautiful orbs. Just, you can tell by the vibration, and if you're in tune enough and you're vibrational savvy, you can tell that their vibration is that of divine love and light.
Yep.
Which is something that Spirit Council had always prepared me. Many, many years ago, when I was first introduced by the council that, you know, there is a star family, there are UFOs and other dimensional beings that are our family. But Spirit always said to me, you will know, it's a knowing. It's not even a feeling. It's kind of like very similar to when I had my near-death experience. You can sense the bliss. It's kind of like knowing, even in the physical density, like knowing a family member. Oh, yeah. That's my family member. That's my cousin I haven't seen in, 10 years or whatever. So, yes, while there are dark ones, and one of the reasons, we've talked about this before, but I'm being guided to give this information, that the plan of the Galactic and Intergalactic Federation is not privy to the collective consciousness because of what our government has done with the Star Wars program.
Right. And
how they want to control everybody by fear. So if Spirit was to give an announcement that on such and such a day, at such and such a time, your skies are going to be inundated with spacecrafts and star people, the powers that think they be would, trump that and unleash all their dark, creep crawler crap that they've got going, and it would sabotage the plan of the divine. And with that being said, I really want everybody to know this is a check you can deposit. We are entered in. We're not entering in. We are entered into the unknown as we speak.
Yep.
They're rearranging the furniture in the cosmos, and they're doing that to prepare the people for their perspective, dimensional, vibrational frequency of, what they're going to do with the people of the steeple, so to speak. I mean, while I know there's New World Order, and I know there's all this underground stuff, and I know the Greys and the reptilians and all the cahoots and the conspiracies, which I believe conspiracies are true, while all that's happening, I do know that there's a greater plan. And whether it be an Earth evacuation, it is what it is. It's going to be one of those, well, you can stay here and you can fall victim and be in some of those underground nasty FEMA whatever's they've got planned, or you're going to have to trust in your star family and take a chance. But nonetheless, they are here. I would be willing to bet a lot of our listeners for Shattering the Matrix and radio are probably have had their own experiences. And I know there's a lot of people that have had UFO experiences. that don't want to talk about it because they don't want to be perceived as crazy, or the other thing that happens is you get the men in black come knocking on your door. I mean, these stories and these interviews that these shows are doing with people are absolutely authentic and true.
Yeah.
So
it's a good point.
There's something really big that's getting ready to.
Yeah, there's something brewing. There's something definitely brewing, and I just wanted to give a little insight to our listeners, a little bit more of information, because I guess everybody really needs to know this part as well, that just because our star family may be coming in for a possible evacuation, and you're listening to this, and your maybe neighbors listening to this, and whomever is listening to this broadcast, doesn't necessarily mean, unfortunately, that all of us can get on to those particular ships, unfortunately, because of the frequency. There may not be a frequency match, and this is really important because a lot of us, think that because we've followed a certain path and we feel that we've done things right and whatever, but we're still not making the right choices. Our frequency may not be up to par with the frequency necessary to board those ships of light. Now, it doesn't mean that there may not be other ships that come in that will, perhaps, I don't know, that might also be part of the, and I don't know, I'm just saying, that may either pretend to be part of the evacuation, they may say that they're here to be, so you've got to be very, very discerning, and you know what, the best course of action right now, at this point in time, is to start making the right choices, folks. Start being very, very vigilant about your emotions. Be very, very vigilant about your thoughts, about your deeds, about your actions, because all of this, it's not that this is not about a judgment day. No. I'm talking about vibration,
that's right,
resonance,
that's
and
right.
Everything that we're seeing right now in the outer world points to a point in time, to a timeline that we're in, that is, there is no other alternative but possibly coming in and having to intervene in that manner. So if that happens, I just want to make sure that as many of you that can possibly get on board to a potential evacuation situation are ready. And so if you can start making the correct choices today, knowing this, I think that you have a much better shot. Do you agree with that, Crystal?
Absolutely. Okay. And Ari, this was definitely the energy transmissions that came through from the Hawthors, which I will make sure that we get that posted. That's exactly what the Hawthors message was to the collective consciousness, that was beautifully said, Ari, really beautifully. It's not about, a judgment or a good or a bad. It's really about where you are at vibrationally. This does have everything to do with vibrational resonance, vibrational octave, and some people are not ready to be a candidate, if you will, for certain higher dimensional frequencies. This is why NASA, look at all these planets that are being discovered that are replicas of Earth.
Yeah.
Even NASA is blown away by what they're finding in the solar systems and new planets and planets that look just like Earth, and these are being prepared for a reason. They may appear that they're not, thinking that in leading people that there's no habitat on there, but once the Earth unplugs her spirit from this body and moves into a higher vibrational frequency, it's going to be done.
Yeah.
but it's the same thing. It's graduation. We've got to be a candidate for higher vibrational frequencies. So I think it really is important for those people that have the same knowing as you and I do, and the same vibrational and spiritual discipline and consciousness. I really feel like this will be a huge confirmation and validation, as I know that the divine spirit is really rocking people's intuitive center to be like, pay attention, be the observer, and get away from your, gadgets, and, be in nature, like, feel the vibration under your feet, watch the vibration of water, feel the vibration of the winds, like, things are happening.
Yeah. And they really, people really need to start, in my humble opinion, Crystal, they need to start removing off their spiritual training wheels and start taking responsibility, knowing that they're not spiritual wimps, that they're really not novices, that they're really not spiritually unworthy, that that other people other than themselves have the into the knowings of the higher realms. This is absolute nonsense for people at this point in time, whether they got into spirituality 4 years ago, whether they've been in there all their lives for 30, 40, 50 years, whatever that may be. We should know better by now that we really don't have to go to anyone but Source Creator for our truth and for connection. And so I wanted to end with this real quick thing, because we really need to make a distinction between channeling and between transmission, okay? Because there's a lot of confusion, and a lot of people do, unfortunately, just get their spiritual guidance and a lot of their spiritual information through channeled information or from someone else's perspective. Everything but going within and connecting directly with their creator. So let's talk about the difference between channeled information. A lot of people, for example, people that have made names for themselves, will actually bring in a personality. They become a different personality. They will speak perhaps in an accent, have different mannerisms than the host normally would have. Give information that seems very canned. A lot of really good information, which I call truisms, but it's stuff that your soul would recognize to begin with, you see. So it's nothing new, except that perhaps it's said in a different twist. But your soul recognizes it as if I could only say it, your soul recognizes it as truth, and so embraces it and takes that information in. What it does is really disempower you from going directly to source yourself.
Right.
A transmission, on the other hand, is, for example, you'll get a download of information. It comes in it's transmitted to you in light language, sometimes in symbols, sometimes as pictograms. It's a packet of information, and then now you have to figure out, okay, now how do I express this information? How do I communicate this light language in a manner that is understandable by most people?
Well, it's like you have to interpret it and then put it into human language.
That is correct.
So, and it's light language translated into human language.
Correct.
And so, yes, because, we talked a little bit about that book, and what's in your book around the channeling, and one of the things that you and I talked about was, the discernment that well, I'll just use myself for an example. I do readings. I don't use props for my readings. And, I even got in the habit of using the term, channeling. We had this very in-depth conversation, you and I said to you that I was going to discipline myself in using the the interpretation of download or energy transmissions, because that's what they really are.
That's what they are.
And they're rays that talk to you, it's actually the ray of light that gives
the frequency of the
message.
vibration. Mm-hmm.
So it is really important, and when people get to that section in Ari's book, and she talks about channelers, and you correct me if I'm wrong, but we did talk about those that are channeling an entity or a being, and their persona leaves their body, and this persona and personality of this ascended master or that comes in, and their voice changes, and maybe the way they speak changes, and all of that.
And a lot of canned speech, right?
Right. Because I think it's important for people to know the difference. That's very, very important. There are people that have been born with the authority of God to deliver these transmissions, downloads, messages that sit at the Ascended Master Council and so on and so forth. But we also talked about when New Age came about, everybody became a channeler, everybody became a psychic, everybody became a healer, everybody, and people need to understand that there's a great responsibility, a very disciplined responsibility that comes along with doing this work. For me personally, when I give people their messages from Spirit, I don't tell you what you want to hear, I don't tell you what you think you're supposed to hear. I am governed to give you messages that Spirit has been repeatedly trying to tell you. And to kind of get people on their way, and then give them the tools that they need to continue on their spiritual journey of moving and growing forward. So I think that, it's important for people to know the difference, because the amount of low vibrational entities that are out there are off the Richter scale.
Oh yeah, and they're deceivers. They are always on the lookout, for that perfect opportunity. All right, so that they can come in and deceive someone. That's what they do. They do this 24/7, 365 days a year, non-stop. They're all on the same page. They all are in unity. So it's unlike us that we're divided by so many different philosophies. They're not. They know exactly what tasks they have to do, and that is to discombobulate us and to knock us off our horse, right? So we've got to be extremely discerning. And I'll tell you what, though, when we finally make that conscious decision to go inward, to communicate directly with our Creator, with the Creator of all that is, of all the creations, of all the multiverses, I promise you that the information that you will get will be crystal clear, uninterrupted, pure, pristine. Okay? You won't need an interpreter, and you will have your own transmission.
Yeah. Exactly.
I promise you.
The deal, the universe will set that up and give you the confirmation and the validation through synchronicities, serendipities, coincidence, which I've always said is God's way of remaining anonymous. Then all of that translates into omens, and we're going to talk about omens when we do our part 2 series.
Of course.
How important it is to pay attention to how the universe, the universal language, and how Creator talks to us in so many different creative ways, signs, signals, symbols, things that mean something to the individual. It could be lyrics in a song. It could be something that you think about, and then all of a sudden, it was interesting. I'd gotten the message to give the information that disclosure/reunion is coming in our very near future, and literally days later, there's a freaking UFO all but knocking on my door.
Wow. I'm telling you, that was definitely clear. You can't get any clearer than that.
Right.
For sure. And which, of course, led to this particular radio show, which was really important for people to understand where we are in the timeline, and that people like myself who has had multiple, numerous encounters with the space, brothers and sisters, the higher vibrational ones that we're talking about with the light ships. Numerous, too many to even count. Okay, I've lost count. and you as well, for us to be letting you know that we're seeing a pattern, not only in the world events. We're seeing a pattern with earth changes and strangeness in our environment, and we're on top of that seeing these light ships more evident and lower to the ground.
Yes.
You kind of have to start paying attention. Okay.
Exactly.
Right. So.
Well, and because that was the thing. I'm like you. I've had more encounters than I can tell you, but never have I had one this low.
Right. Yeah, they were definitely, trying to get your attention, and for some reason we needed to talk about this today. So everyone, we've really loved this conversation. I mean, I can go on forever and ever and ever. This is one of my passions, is to be able to discuss this with you all, because this is the stuff that I know. I know I was born for. Crystal, the same way. I know I'm speaking for her because she's my sister, on the other side. And, this is the stuff that we know. And if you were to do your due diligence and go into your own knowing and your own connection with the divine realms, you would get the exact same information. You don't need a channeler. You don't need, guru so-and-so. You don't need this particular, whatever. It's your connection directly with source. Get your own transmission, get your own information, and I promise you that when you do, you're going to start seeing that you're gonna, what you need to do is to start, making better choices, start making, being very vigilant of your, of your thought process, of what kind of emotions,
your practice, your protocol, your perception, your connection.
Exactly.
It's very, very, very important, people. Like, I really just hope that our listeners seriously understand that we're at the critical point of our evolution right now, and I really hope that people appreciate and take this to the heart.
Take this to heart.
And start doing the work.
Absolutely, do the work. And if you want to know more about what we were just discussing today, because a lot of the things that I've actually spoken about are written in the book called Spiritual Warfare and the Art of Deception, the Hijacking of Spirituality, which is available on Amazon. It will give you a great insight as to how the dark forces manipulate us. And more than that, the book is really full of light. And it's really funny because the cover is dark, and it's got a very strange looking creature in the front. And that is the deception, because inside is full of light. And it tells you exactly who you are. It's so inspiring in a lot of ways. And then it, of course, tells you exactly what was done to deceive us. Okay, and why we were in this predicament, but how we can get out of it. And then the second book, which is coming out, God willing, August 1st, is actually the follow-up of that, and it's basically getting back to source, the tools for protection, the tools for connection, protection, and empowerment. And that particular book is a manual. It's the manual to show us how to get back to source if we've disconnected ourselves, how to get back to source, how to get back to creator, and what we need to do to protect ourselves from all the psychic attacks, from all the dark forces and all the evil that's happening in this world, and what we need to do to be able to manifest, and how to be able to heal ourselves, and how to become empowered so that we can now step into our power and authority and do the things that we need to do to be able to hopefully still turn this around and bring positive change to the planet. So with that, Absolutely, and I promise you that the people that have read these books, or at least the first book, are absolutely raving about it, and it's making a change, a positive change in their lives. So with that said, Crystal, thank you very much. I wanted to let everybody know about your website, which is is it Sacred Space Durango?
SacredSpaceDurango.com, and my email address is sacredspace777@gmail.com, and I'm open to. Oh, and I also have Facebook now, Ari.
Ooh, okay.
Sacred Space Durango, Colorado. So, join me on Facebook. We can chat on there. Again, my protocol is, please, I want quality souls, high vibrational people, anybody that's not quite there yet, please, call me when you get there, but don't call me until you're there. Mean it with love and light. Like I'm
always
busy anchoring light, trying to heal people, doing my work, and I just want good quality
people that are ready to do the work.
Yes, people that are ready to do the work.
People that are serious, like-minded, serious people ready to do the work.
Yep, and can vibrate to the vibration that I vibrate to. So I mean that with love. I love all of our listeners. I'm so appreciative to everybody that is doing their work and doing their part. And thank you for your beautiful work. Job well done on your book, Ari.
Well, thank you very much, Chris.
Spiritual Warfare, The Art of Deception. It's a good end.
Thank you so much. And everyone, thank you very much for tuning in tonight. You've been listening to Shattering the Matrix. My name is Ari Kopel, and you've been listening to my beloved good friend and co-host, Crystal Andasola from SacredSpaceDurango.com. Thank you very much, and you have a wonderful evening. Bye-bye.
Namaste.
Namaste. Bye-bye.